they'll see a post-apocalyptic society getting back. I mean, it took them more than 200 years to get back on the sea. It takes a long time to assemble people who can build things and work together and get the raw materials and that kind of things.
You're watching the Spotlight Network. Starring Hollywood's newsman, Logan Crawford.
They now believe a single member.
He works with TV and film legends. And now, Logan's shining the spotlight on the world's top emerging authors and creators.
International were abducted.
This is Spotlight with Logan Crawford. Streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV.
I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're taking a look at a fascinating book. It is called Volcano in the Ocean. It is a richly imagined post-apocalyptic tale written by a terrific author. Her name is Laurie de Vere, set 260 years after the eruption of Yellowstone reshaped humanity's path. With a unique structure, unfamiliar societies, and multiple protagonists, this is the first installment in a four-part saga that challenges the boundaries of traditional storytelling. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put her in the spotlight today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Laurie, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
This is such a wonderfully creative book. How did you come up with the idea for it?
Well, I was studying ancient history, and I started to wonder about nonviolent societies. Every time in history a nonviolent society has been invaded by a violent society, they've either been assimilated or turned into slaves or wiped right out, or they've learned to become violent themselves. And I wondered if there was another way. And then when I was working with Professor Yall in British Columbia, Yellowstone started, doing its thing. It does every now and then, like it breathes, And we talked about if it went off. And I thought, if it went off in a small way, it would be a near extinction event. And I was terribly homesick for New Zealand. And I just started writing about New Zealand being a nonviolent society after the eruption, and the GR finding them and could they survive, and that's how it started. And then it sort of turned into 2 books, and then 3 books, and then 4 books, because I couldn't get everything into one book. It was got too big. Nobody would buy it.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Something like this big.
Exactly. Nobody wants to read a book that big. Well, they do like to read books this big, so I'm glad it's 4 installments now. Are they all available right now, or are they all published?
No, Volcano in the Ocean's coming out now. And the next book, Ignition in the City, will probably be out by the end of the year. It'll be a little bit longer for Smoke in the Forest, because I'm fighting with putting the pieces all in, and then Fire in the Fern is the last one. So maybe they'll all be out by the end of next year, maybe the year after.
Your books have a very unique structure. Rather than following a single protagonist, each chapter centers on a different character. Why did you choose to do that?
Well, I wanted to show both sides of the story. The islanders, and how they live, and the protagonists and how they live, and just to contrast the two. And then I just started storytelling, and it just kept getting bigger. The story of Sam, the our protagonist just evolved and evolved, and um, the story of Hattori and his family, you know, it just kept getting bigger. I
Yeah.
just kept
Yeah.
telling the story.
Yeah, sometimes a story takes on a life of its own when you're creating
Yeah.
it, different pathways are taken and so forth. So it's really, really wonderful. Have you envisioned this as a TV series or a series of films?
Well, I didn't when I was writing it, but now I think if it's going to be a series of films, it'll have to be filmed by Taika Waititi, because it's a South Pacific story, and he's a very good filmmaker, and um, he understands the South Pacific point of view, but he's also lived in the States a lot, and he knows about their points of view too.
Mm.
So, and it would have to be somebody like that who understands both points of view.
Well, that's wonderful. So hopefully he's listening because this would be a great series of films, no doubt.
It would be,
Great
yeah.
characters, great settings, great themes that are explored. What do you hope the readers take away from the book? What do you hope they learn about themselves or about society after reading your books?
Um, I hadn't really thought about that. I hope, well, they'll see a post-apocalyptic society getting back. I mean, it took them more than 200 years to get back on the sea. It takes a long time to assemble people who can build things and work together and get the raw materials and that kind of thing. So um, I hope that they'll understand how fragile civilization is. And the only way that people can get through is by helping each other, not by fighting each other.
Exactly.
Right now we're seeing what I envisioned in this. People first told me I was anti-American and it will never be published and that kind of thing. My beta readers. Now the things that I envisioned are happening, and they're coming back and saying, "Holy cow!" How did you see this?
Exactly, exactly. We need more cooperation in this world, less conflict, no doubt. And I think it's really, really wonderful. This messages that your stories give to our readers. Where can readers find your book and stay connected with you as the series unfolds?
Um,
Imagine Amazon has it, right?
Amazon, yeah, they'll have to get it through Amazon. The publisher hasn't really told me yet where it'll be available, so I'm not sure. I'm sorry. It'll be on Amazon for sure.
Yeah, Amazon's always a great place to get your books,
Yeah.
whether it's digital in e-form or an actual printed copy.
Yeah, there's both.
How did your own life experience impact the story you told in this book?
Um, this this actually uses my family quite a lot. Um, the children in Anya's family are my children,
Mm,
and and I thought I could write my daughter um, living longer, but I just couldn't write her. Once she was gone, she was gone. So I had to kill her off,
mm.
um, and because I just couldn't write her. But that's quite. It's a war story,
Yeah.
People, you lose people that matter a lot to you, so that fitted in. But I was sorry because I wanted to write her as continuing to live. She died when she was 15,
Mm.
and the girl Danya dies when she's 16 because I just couldn't think of anything else.
Yeah.
But the boys, Anston and Winston, go on. They're very bright. Oh, Anston is my son, Richard Campbell, and anybody who knows him knows he's very bright. Um, and so they lead the charge against the JR.
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's
And
very, very powerful storytelling, no doubt. Give the folks at home a little bit of an overview of the story. You don't have to get in too much detail, but just tell them a little bit of what it's about.
well, Hattori goes out in onto the ocean. He goes out further than the little. He's got a weed eater, a little a seaweed gathering because they eat seaweed because you don't have animals in New Zealand. And he goes out further than they're supposed to, and he sees a foreign ship, and he turns and goes back and tells the people. And on the foreign ship, they're it's not a very good ship for the sea. And they do eventually find New Zealand, and then they go back, and then there's years pass of going back and forth until at the end of the book they decide they'll exchange people to learn about each other's. The islanders thinking they'll get the GR will get to know them and won't be so violent, and the GR thinking they'll trick the islanders out of their technology because the islanders have technology that the GR doesn't have.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that's the end of the first book. It just kind of leaves you in the lurch, but
Right. But there's
that's
books 2, 3, and 4 that'll pick up the pieces, no doubt, and expand upon
yeah,
the story. And we're
yeah.
looking forward to those. The name of the book we've been focusing on today is called Volcano in the Ocean. It is a richly imagined post-apocalyptic tale that is set 260 years after the eruption of Yellowstone reshaped humanity's path. It is an amazing story with a unique structure, unfamiliar society, multiple protagonists. It is part one in a four-part saga. You'll want to ravage each of these books because they are wonderful. Laurie, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. It was really good.
Wonderful. It was great having you on the show. You did a great job yourself. To the folks at home, I'm Logan
Thank,
Crawford, thanking you for your time this time until next time on
thank you,
Spotlight.
Logan. Bye bye.